when I was a kid, I consumed any piece of media that featured a superhero in it, no matter what. And that led to me seeing a lot of things that kind of suck. I watched basically anything that had a Marvel or DC character in it. I still kind of do, but at the very least, as an adult, I have higher critical thinking skills, and I can, I don't watch everything, you know what I mean? Growing up, one of my favourite films was the early 2000s Fantastic Four movie and the sequel. I watched both of those at least 100 times when I was a kid. I'm not exaggerating, by the way, hundreds of times. My poor family had to watch that with me a lot as a kid. I had a few of the toys. I had that one where it's the Thing, and he's like, he has a rock he lifts, even though he never lifts a rock in the entire movie. So recently I did this thing where I revisited the movie, the first one, not the second one, to see it again because I hadn't seen it in a while. And Jesus Christ, I had kind of bad taste, I guess. I'm now going to talk about the 2005 Fantastic Four movie at great length. Not great length, just as long as I can talk. First, this movie is brisk, and I mean brisk. I watched it on Disney Plus, and on Disney Plus, it's like an hour and 45 minutes. It's very quick. Barely 10 minutes in, we're already in space with the four already introduced. Within 20 minutes, the group already has their powers and abilities. It's quick. It goes by just like that. It is breathtakingly fast. I had to stop and rewind a little bit at the beginning so I could, catch what was happening again. A lot of backstory is thrown at you in the first 8 minutes of the film, and you're just sort of expected to nod your head and go with it, so whatever. There's weirdly not a lot of superheroing in this superhero movie. Off the top of my head, I watched this yesterday. There's the action scene on the bridge, which was caused by the Fantastic Four, might I add, so they put all of those people's lives in danger. There's, I guess, the race, the street race that Johnny's in. I guess that counts as an action sequence because the Thing throws a punch. There's the final battle between the Fantastic Four and Doom, and that's kind of it, not including, set pieces like the space station and them getting their powers. There's not a lot of superheroing. I've heard some people describe this movie as kind of like a superhero sitcom. Kind of, I guess. It's kind of a superhero sitcom. A lot of the middle act of the film is just sort of watching the Fantastic Four do stuff, like in the Baxter Building, which is kind of funny, I guess. If there's one positive I can really say, it's that the lead characters, the Fantastic Four themselves, are really well cast. I like all of them. They have good chemistry with each other, and their performances are pretty good for the most part. Jessica Alba maybe has a few lines here and there that maybe could have used an extra take, but they're good. The main four are really good, and I like this version of them. They're really, accurate to the characters while also kind of, little bit of fun, a little wacky. This is one of my favourite versions of the Thing. I really like Michael Chiklis's performance, and I like the big suit that he's wearing. I know it looks kind of goofy, but I think it looks alright. Considering it was 2005, I'm glad they didn't do a CG version of the Thing. It looks really alright, I guess. He moves well in it for the most part, unless he has to run. Then he looks a bit silly. But that's to be a given. Chris Evans as the Human Torch is a pretty good casting. A lot of people, nowadays we associate him with Captain America, a very noble character. He's just a total asshole in Fantastic Four, and I love it. He's really great in the role. The shaved head kind of threw me off. I think maybe they were going to have frosted tips. Like, I feel like they would have given him frosted tips. Maybe they gave him frosted tips and they had to shave it at the last minute because it didn't look good. That's the only reason I can think of for why he would just have a shaved head like that. The film does a lot of interesting things with the backstory of the Fantastic Four, like having Victor Von Doom go into space with them, and he gets his powers in the same solar storm that they get their powers in. I think the Ultimate Comics did that before this movie came out, but it incorporated that, which is an interesting detail. Also, Reed having the silver grey streaks in his hair aren't a thing he had before space. Going into space and getting hit with cosmic energy gave him the silver streaks, which is really funny to me. It's just such an unnecessary thing, but it made me giggle, so had to share it. Doctor Doom is probably the weakest part of the movie. He's played by Australia's own Julian McMahon, or McMahon. I can't remember how you say it. I don't care, really. It's a weird performance, and it's a weird take on the character. Doctor Doom is usually the ruler of Latveria. He's this sinister presence. Julian McMahon is not a sinister presence. He's kind of like a slimy corporate businessman, and he gets powers in space. He gets like scars on his face which peel and it looks gross. His hands become like metal, and he can like shoot electricity, and he can kind of control metal. It's really weird. I thought at first they were going to have his head turn into like metal, like it was going to turn into the helmet. But then in the final act of the film, he just like stumbles across a mask that was gifted by Latveria, and he just takes the mask for some reason. I don't know, it's kind of weird. The costumes of the four themselves look pretty good, though. I do like the designs. I like the material that they're made out of. It looks nice. It reads well on camera, and they move well in it. It looks like a good representation of the Four's uniforms, and it's definitely a better look than the 2015 suits, which is good, because 2015 movie sucks. I'm going to rewatch the 2015 film, and I'm going to talk about that another time. Of course, we have to have conflict at some point between Ben and Reed, and that happens kind of in the middle act of the film, a little bit towards the ending too. That feels kind of like a classic Fantastic Four thing, to have them kind of bicker, but they're going to get back together by the end to fight Doom, so it doesn't really matter. The final battle itself is kind of average. It was a superhero movie in the early 2000s. It's not like award-winning or anything, but it's fun. It's a fun movie. That's really all you needed at the time. I do kind of miss the early 2000s superhero movies, because they were a different breed to what we get today with the MCU and the DC stuff. Built different, to say the least. Silver Surfer is a decent follow-up, I think. I don't have a lot to say on it. I don't like it as much as the first one. I do think Doug Jones does well as the Silver Surfer, and I find it weird that they, had Lawrence Fishburne come in and do the voice, although the voice is pretty cool. Everyone and their mother has complained about Galactus being a big cloud, but to be fair, were they really going to make a big space monster in 2007 with 2007 CG on whatever budget they had? No, they weren't. The cloud is dumb, but at least it's a tangible threat, and at least I can take that seriously, unlike Julian McMahon, who for some reason comes back in the sequel, and is even goofier in the sequel for some reason. His performance is like weirdly hammy in the sequel. It's a different vibe. It's not a good vibe. It's kind of bad. The whole Human Torch power switching thing was kind of fun for a bit, and then the climax in the movie was just Johnny getting all the powers and punching Doctor Doom a lot, which is dumb, but again, it's built different. It's something else, and I like it. It's fine. I prefer this final battle to the first movie's final battle. I think there were plans to make a spin-off of the Silver Surfer that was going to have Galactus be in it. That didn't happen, obviously, but I'm curious as to how that would have turned out at the time. I kind of wish we did get, like, more from this Fantastic Four. Like, I would have liked to have seen maybe the Skrulls or a Nihilus introduced. Maybe Franklin Richards could be in the third movie, because the second movie had Reed and Sue get married. I don't know.